We couldn't have asked for a better Christmas gift. You know, that was the greatest gift God could have ever given us.
Dawn Johnson's Christmas miracle really began with a promise she made as a 19-year-old girl. During a mission trip to Haiti, she visited a small third-world hospital.
I remember going into this hospital with this gentleman, and I had just said to the gentleman, I said, well, what's in that room? And I remember him opening that door, and there were rows and rows of babies. Not a word, not a sound. I was horrified when he said, this is our dying room. And I locked eyes with one infant. And I just remember my eyes and my heart speaking back to that child and saying, one day, I promise you, I will make a difference for children like you.
As she grew older, Dawn never forgot her promise. She started her family with her husband Tom and had 4 biological children. Then they began to foster children and eventually adopted Haley in 1996. In 2004, they adopted again, this time a little girl from Ethiopia named Grace.
We knew immediately just at how God had spoken that this was the little girl we were supposed to have.
In May of 2005, Tom and Dawn traveled to Ethiopia to pick up their daughter.
I'll never forget the day when we walked into this room and it was lined up with these little cradles, and little Gracie's eyes were wide open, and I remember instant connection. An answer to prayer for us in a big way. Yes, aren't you? She just looked at me and I looked at her, and it was such a beautiful connection, because the last time I had stared into eyes of an infant like that in devastation was in Haiti. And all of a sudden this grin that took up her whole face just exploded.
But the next day, Dawn and Tom learned the hard truth about Gracie's background.
I remember the instructor sharing with us that our little girl had been found, she had been abandoned and found in a field underneath a little nook in a bush, and with a rope placed around her neck.
Rope on her neck?
A rope on her neck?
Yeah.
And she had just had been left naked. She had no food, no water for 2 days. They couldn't even get her birth date exactly on. They had to make a guess.
A group of villagers stumbled upon the abandoned baby and contacted a police officer.
He said that rope was so tight around her neck that he couldn't even get his fingers in there to get it off. It was the purpose of death. But it was kind of interesting because the field that she was found in, the town where she's from, is Hosanna, and that literally means Lord save us. As I looked down at her sleeping in my arms, how could she survive such a thing? But little did I know that, God's grace was so with her, and he was just revealing more and more and more just what his grace is.
On May 23, 2005, Gracie came home to the States to her new brothers and sisters. But the Johnsons had more hard news waiting for them. When they took Gracie in for routine blood work, their doctor called with a sobering report.
She had an active hepatitis B infection that she probably ended up getting at the time of birth. For children that are chronic hepatitis B carriers, there's not a lot of treatment available. And these children can ultimately go on to have cirrhosis when they're older. They can go on to have hepatocellular carcinoma, a cancer.
And I didn't know at that point how devastating hepatitis B can be, but I knew that she could be a very, very sick little girl. So after hearing that news, immediately we went in our bedroom and we prayed. And we took our little girl and we prayed over her.
Just days later, the Johnsons went to a healing crusade.
At the healing crusade, I remember the pastor saying, people, pray, ask God anything and just believe. And I remember placing my hand on her head and closing my eyes and just praying, Lord, just heal her. That's all I ask of you. And a beautiful vision came before me. The sight of Jesus had walked up in front of me, and he was taking her disease, which he died on the cross to do, and he was giving her his purity, his life, his blood, his healing. It was the most powerful thing I've ever witnessed. And I just said, Father God, I know you are healing her. I claim this for her.
In December, the Johnsons took Gracie back in to have her blood retested.
My cell phone rang, and it happened to be our doctor. And he called and he just said, Dawn, he said, I have great news for you. I have a special gift for you. It was just before Christmas.
Her liver enzymes returned back to normal. All evidence of that hepatitis B virus within her blood completely disappeared. She's the first one that I've seen who's actually been able to completely clear the hepatitis B.
What a beautiful time. I mean, we celebrated that Christmas was the most special Christmas we probably will ever celebrate. The gift that he gave us of her and her healing and all that she has been since.
Today, Gracie is 5 years old and healthier than ever. She even has a little brother, Joseph, from the same orphanage in Ethiopia.
Every day is such a miracle day. I'm reminded every day when I see her and the joy that she has within her heart and spirit of God's love and His grace.
Jesus kept me safe and He snuggled me and He loved me.
Everything He did for Gracie, God's no respecter of persons, and the love and favor that He gave that little girl is what He wants His people to know, that He hears our cry and He wants to save us just as He saved that little girl. He's there waiting for you